Welcome to Morning Infusion with Dr. V. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to train Navy SEALs the way to eat to increase their performance? Well, my name is Dr. Viola Pierce. I'm the owner and the CEO of VP Nursing and the Nurse Nurturer, and the facilitator of Secret Circles Worldwide with Dr. V, where our goal is to equip healthcare professionals to be wealthy in all areas of their lives. Our goal is to come to you each Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to give you the fuel to crush your goals, to show up exceptional on a daily basis. Know that one of our goals on Morning Infusion with Dr. V is to expose you to leaders that have overcome so that you know what the possibilities are and that they are endless. You can follow us on Twitter at the Nurse Nurturer, Instagram at VP Nursing, and if you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and please share this video. We have a group called the Nurse Nurturer on Facebook that you can join to receive uplifting content for healthcare professionals. You can also visit our website at vpnursing.com. Our special guest today is Chelsea Burkart. So Chelsea Burkart is a performance dietitian for the U.S. Navy Special Warfare, working to optimize combat readiness, health, and career longevity for the Navy SEALs. Previous to her time at the U.S. Special Forces setting, Chelsea worked as a sports dietitian in collegiate athletics for 10 years at the University of Florida, University of Illinois, James Madison University, and Texas State University. Burkart is recognized as a strong and influential leader within the sports nutrition profession and is deeply passionate about mentoring. Chelsea's approach to teach athletes and Special Forces operators what it means to listen to their bodies, promote minimally processed foods, and encourage them to enjoy cake as well as broccoli. Well, I like you, Chelsea. Chelsea lives in Virginia with her husband and two sons. So welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
So you are an exercise optimization coach. Therefore, therefore, we know that you optimize exercise. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I help athletes and our guys here now to really figure out how do they fuel their bodies? How do they get the most out of exercise? How do they get the most out of their bodies during training events as well, whether they're in the gym training or whether they are on the job training, and making sure that they feel fueled and recovered through the day, through the week. Through an entire training evolution of maybe a couple months, for an athlete for the entire season. And it just really takes a toll on the body. And obviously the energy to do all those things has to come somewhere. And exercise is one piece, but if you don't fuel the exercise with what the body needs, you're not going to get that maximal stimulus, that maximal adaptation. And it's really no different for all of us in our own life, that we need calories and energy for our brains to function. And we've all had that time when we didn't eat and, you are foggy and you can't even think. And, so whether you're sitting at a desk or you're out on the practice field or you're at the range, shooting, for our guys, like it matters how well fueled you are and kind of what all that timing and stuff looks like.
And that is so very important, because there are many times when we as healthcare professionals, we stay out on the floor. I know back in the emergency department, we used to stay out on the floor and we used to not eat, right? Because that next patient is coming in, because we needed to do this, we needed to do that. But the reality is that again, I say this all the time, if we don't pour into ourselves, then we can't pour into our patients. And so that is a huge thing for sure. So what is the primary reason that you wanted to go into this profession?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think similar to healthcare providers in general, I think you go into the profession because you want to help people. You feel like there's something that's really important within the process of helping people, whether you feel like that being, thinking about nutrition and how it applies is important, or thinking about nursing and how the care and the handoff of care and the time of care between a patient and their nurse, who's not always with the physician, how do you navigate all of that? So it was really, I started in exercise science and thought that I would be an exercise scientist and but I really fell in love with the way that the exercise science is fueled by nutrition and being able to combine those two things. So certainly there are dietitians in the hospital setting or in the public health setting. And I knew that I wanted to do this in the sports setting. When I started almost 12 years ago, sports nutrition was not a very common job. There weren't a ton of full-time dietitians all over the place. So those of us who started around the time I did were really kind of working through the development of a profession in general. And honestly, we still are. So being able to combine those things of how do you fuel that performance, how do you optimize that, was just really cool to me. There's a lot of similarities in that people who are maybe in like the ICU have trauma that happened to them, and sport is really similar to intentional trauma on the body. It's intentional. It's in a different way. So becoming a dietitian, going through my dietetic internship, I spent a number of months at Houston Methodist Hospital in Houston, Texas. And I loved being in the ICU because it was this cool math problem of figuring out the fueling and navigating that, and bringing it to life actually in sport is not different. It's just intentional trauma instead of accidental trauma. And it was just a really cool way to kind of hybrid the athletic population with taking care of athletes and helping to optimize them, and something that goes across the lifespan, right? Like you've eaten every day of your life, and how do we do it in the way that optimizes us? Those are two different things.
I love it. I love it. I love how you mirror the intentional trauma with the unintentional trauma. But also, I love the way that you're pioneering, right? Because you are doing kind of what Florence Nightingale did for nurses, right? Because nursing was not a profession, before Florence Nightingale came in, and she was like, yeah, this needs to be a profession. And the fact that you're doing what's right? At all times. So I love it. I love it. I love it. So now, how has your profession helped you in your personal life of being fit and fabulous?
I think you realize like the things that you coach, the things that you teach are things that you have to do yourself. And I think sometimes as healthcare professionals, we all realize that we tell people to do things that we don't necessarily do ourselves. And it's almost like you think you're immune to it. And then when the same thing happens to you, your body changes physiologically in the same way or whatever, you're like, okay, I know that this is why. But staying around active people and being in that setting certainly helps me to stay active, but I'm no different in that sometimes I don't make time to eat. Sometimes I don't make time to work out. And my own well-being suffers for that, even though I'm in this setting where it should be easy to eat really well and to work out all the time, because isn't that what everybody else is doing? And sometimes you get caught under the bus of like, I need to take care of me and make time for that. So I can't say that being part of this profession has always allowed me to do that. I think when you choose to go into a service type setting, it's natural for you to put other people first. And even though it's maybe more readily available for me to eat well, like our dining facility only serves high quality foods. We don't have a fryer, we don't have desserts, we don't have soda, those things aren't even available at our setting because the guys don't want it to be. They're like, if it's there, I'm going to eat it. So don't even put it there. So it might be easier, but that doesn't mean that I always do it. So, I still almost have that just as hard of a time with remembering I got to take care of myself too.
I love it. I love it. I'm gonna have to come to your facility where it's not available. But I love, because before we came on, we were talking about, adversity, and you said something that was, very, pivotal for me. And, because it is the way in which you look at life, because we were talking previously about any adversity that you had in your life. And you said that you didn't, you just don't look at life as adverse. Things are going to happen, right? And when things happen, you just have to pivot in that space. And I think that that's a faith thing. You have to have faith that it's going to work out. It's going to work out all for the good of us who love God. And I love the way that you looked at that. So now, what you have on the end of your fork plays a huge role in how you perform. Now, how do you encourage your clients to eat healthier?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is I meet them where they're at. I don't expect every athlete, every special forces operator to get to the same place or to be in the same place when they walk into my office. So I really do like a patient guided approach, an athlete guided approach, where I listen to them, kind of figure out where they're at and how do I help them with whatever they're asking about. They might just be asking about a pre-workout supplement. What supplement should I buy and take pre-workout? I'm like, well, let's back up, because where did your need or want or desire from a supplement come from? What's your goal during a workout? Are you coming in tired? Are you coming in under recovered? Are what is leading you to this? Not that a pre-workout supplement is bad, but let's dig into all the things that go into it. And so I think I try to help them see how the dots are all connected. And certainly I'm going to give that athlete or operator an idea of a pre-workout supplement, but we're also going to talk about how their nutrition the whole day plays into pre-workout, even if it means dinner the night before. That's pre the workout. It's just in between sleep, or before sleep. So I think helping an athlete see the big picture, helping them see that if the first question, I remember talking to one of my college athletes who was asking about just how to eat better. He wanted to lose some weight. He was an offensive lineman and needed to drop some pounds. It was just hard on his knees to be coming up out of that stance over and over. And we were talking about foods that he liked and foods that he could incorporate that maybe had less nutrient density, more nutrient density, less caloric density. And, he was identifying some veggies that he liked, some fruits that he liked. We were just kind of going around the store in our mind. And he said, well, where do I find those things? He was a sophomore or junior in college. And the only thing he had ever bought at the grocery store was Little Debbie snack cakes. I'm not kidding. It was intimidating to him to walk into a grocery store. Think of how many products are in a grocery store, how a grocery store is organized. And if that's not something that was familiar to you, our conversation came all the way back to, where do you find baby carrots? How do you find them? And how do you know where to go and not feel like a fool when you should be, as a 20-something-year-old young man who feels confident in his world. He's like, but I don't feel confident in that grocery store. I don't even know what to do in there. So sometimes it's all the way to there to yesterday. One of my guys said, hey, how many teaspoons of turmeric and ginger and something else should I be putting in my smoothie? So you might be talking about Little Debbie snack cakes versus where carrots are in the grocery store, or somebody at a whole level who's got all of his nutrition figured out and he's worried about the micronutrient, vitamin and mineral density in turmeric and ginger and what he should be incorporating. So I think it's helping them all see the big picture of like, how do all these things relate to each other? Why do they all matter? And what does that piece look like?
I love it that you said that you were meeting them where they are. And, when you said that, when you talked about the athlete, it reminded me of a story of a physician he's an ER physician. He said that his son only eats chicken nuggets, French fries, and broccoli. And so whenever he goes into that's all he eats. And so he will not eat. Like he goes to a restaurant, he tells them what he's going to eat. They say that they don't have it. He says, I'm not eating. And then the waitress will try to convince him. And the mom is like, yeah, he's not going to eat anything. So you might as well stop because that's where he is, and limiting that pool because the grocery store has so many things, limiting that. I used to be skinny because I limited that. Now I don't limit it anymore. So I know there are times when you struggle, because we all do. How do you maintain your mental, physical, and emotional health?
That's such a good question. I have a network of people, that's for sure. I have great mentors, great friends in my life. My friends are some of my mentors. So I stay really connected to people. I've moved a lot in my career, and I've kind of taken a person from each place. And it's really, I don't let a moment pass. If I'm thinking of someone, I send them a text. I let people know, like, I stay connected. And so that part's helpful, because then I'm always still kind of connected to those people in my life who have made the biggest difference, who mean the most. I've gotten to the point where I have it like scheduled in my calendar as though it was an appointment to go work out. And so an appointment reminder comes up on my phone or on my computer or on my anything that's like, go work out. And I have learned that if I do that, I commit to it in a different way, and I make sure that I go out and I do. I listen to podcasts and I listen to influential leaders, uplifting people who, help me grow mentally and emotionally and as a person, and kind of challenge my weaknesses. And I found that to be just really important in my own self-awareness. I served as the president of our professional organization for the past 3 years, and things like that are really challenging and hard to do, hard to lead a group of peers. And, so I've had to, in addition to being a mom and a wife and a full-time professional, like find ways to grow and continue to, I don't know, stay balanced with wearing so many hats. And then I have a great relationship with my husband, and that's not always easy. It doesn't become great on its own. It takes a ton of effort, and try to pour into that when I can. And my crazy little men that are 3 and 5 but are crazy. So, I think it's knowing the things that allow you to kind of be your best self. And I can work and do a whole bunch of work, and I feel empty, even though I filled someone else's cup by working for them or on their behalf, or completing something or getting something to them, or sitting in a nutrition counseling session. But it left me empty. And then I'm not as good of a professional. I'm not as good of a mom. I'm not as good of a wife. And I think you can hear that. And until you really live it and you see it in yourself, it doesn't cement for you that you really have to do those things, and kind of complete that stress cycle.
And I think that that's one of the things that we should be taught as healthcare professionals, because we come out of school, and I remember coming out of school and really understanding how to take care of the patient, right? I mean, and, being a little bit scared, right? Because whenever you come into healthcare, you have all these machines, you have all these tasks that you need to do that you may not have performed before. And so that in itself is stressful, but understanding that you need to sit back and say, okay, I need to take care of myself before I step foot in that door. And that's I think that that's where routine comes in. I'm on this 75-day challenge where I am getting up in the morning, literally from 4 to 4:30, making sure that I'm pouring into myself, exercising from 4:30 to 5:30, 5:30 to 6, taking a shower, 6 to 7, working on the business. Literally it's that routine that helps you get to where you need to be. And so I poured into myself before I ever go into the organization and pour into anyone. So that is definitely key for sure.
That routine that you said, I mean, even one little other thing, I've realized I can't go through Sunday without having a plan for dinners for the whole week. Otherwise it ends up being this haphazard, pull something out of the freezer. So we talk about, I ask everybody in the family, what do you want for dinner this week? And I will pull out all the recipes. I look at all the ingredients. I create my grocery list off of that. The night before, I say, what are we having for dinner tomorrow? And I pull out the protein and I let it defrost. And that's one of the things that keeps us on task for the week, is having that routine and the less stress of, man, I just took care of everybody at work. Now I'm home and I have to take care of my family. What am I going to feed all of these people? Well, we have a plan. And it's amazing how big of an impact that can have on a working family.
I love it. I love it. Maybe I need to do that right there myself. I'm gonna do that. Now, you have had to move recently because of drop situations. What are some of the challenges associated with moving with kids?
Yeah, moving with kids. Oh my gosh. So we've lived away from grandparents, our kids' lives, and our professional lives for the last 10 to 12 years. So it is a very, it's solo. You're figuring out how are you going to do this? How are you going to uproot your whole family? How are you going to even pack and get these things done and get everybody moved across the country and find new schools and childcare and new babysitters for times that you need them, and find a job that both spouses like. And, that all of those things they're hard. And I think the best way to do it is just take a deep breath and try to take it one step at a time, because you can't solve all of the problems at once. And the immediate solution doesn't have to be the long-term solution. So if you don't love the immediate solution, but it works and it gets you through a chapter, through a phase, so that you can really get some other things settled. I mean, we came here, my husband did not love his job for the first year. We had our kids at in care that was okay. It just didn't meet all of our needs, and the right things came at the right time. And while they didn't all come at the same time, they've slowly kind of worked themselves out. And it was figuring out, where can we spend energy? Where can we spend emotional energy on things? And you can't spend emotional energy on everything. And when something is okay for the time being, you'll find the right solution eventually. And I think it's just getting some things into place and knowing that this solution doesn't have to be the long-term solution, and we'll get there one piece at a time.
I love it. I love it. I love that the immediate solution does not need to be the long-term solution. And I think that that's where we get caught up, because we want to be perfected,
Yeah.
especially as healthcare professionals. We want to be perfect in everything that we do, but the reality is that we don't need to be perfect.
Right.
I have a business coach, and she's so funny because she's like, don't you, I told her, because we're filming some videos, some modules. And as we were filming the modules, I wanted to order this desk. And she was like, if it, I should have gotten to you before this. You hit order. She was like, you are overthinking it. Just do it.
Yeah.
So now, who has impacted your leadership the most, and why were they so impactful?
This is probably so cliche, but I think I'd say my mom. She raised me in a way that there just weren't, the opportunity to fail wasn't there. And not because I couldn't fail, but because failure was okay. Like, you just fail forward and you move on, and you learn from it. And I think I always had her support. She's an amazing cheerleader. She just is. She just gets excited for all the things. And it was like, you want to do that? Okay, I'll support you. How are we going to get there? And let's think about it and, make a real decision, or be calculated, or figure out what's going to happen. But at the same time, like, you can do this. You can do hard things. You can fail and get back up. And those were just not, they were non-negotiables in the way that I was raised. And so I try to bring that into my own leadership of, well, we're going to make this decision because we think it's the best decision at the time and with the information that we have, and we'll succeed no matter what. We might not succeed right away. Again, this immediate solution might not be the best thing for the long term, but we'll recalculate and we'll address and adjust. And if we make a mistake or if we fail, we'll have humility and about it, and just say, like, well, didn't work, so let's go back to the drawing board. And those things are all okay. And so I realize more and more, to me, how I was raised. Obviously, it's your only perspective, right? You just know what you were exposed to. And I am realizing, as I continue to grow, how influential her choices in raising us was, and how it's impacted me as a woman, as a professional, as a leader, and how I continue to bring kind of that mindset in.
I love it. I love, I don't think it's cliche. I don't think everybody has the same, experience with their moms, but you obviously have an amazing mama. And, I also want to shout out to Kwanzaa Mooring, Dr. Kwanzaa Mooring, who connected us. And again, I'm very intentional about who I hang out with, because you're the sum total of the people that you hang out with. And obviously, she's hanging out with some phenomenal people. She's phenomenal.
Been very lucky. I love her.
I love her too. So now, what is one characteristic that you believe every leader should possess, and why?
I think courage is the first thing. I think courage is, it applies to so many things. And I don't think that you can be a leader without courage, whether that's courage to have humility, whether that's courage to make hard decisions, whether that's courage to go against the popular opinion because of the information that you have, whether it's, just the courage to be who you are and to trust your people, and the courage to empower your people who you have these subject matter experts around you. And how do you help them? How do you elevate the people who you are leading? And it takes a lot of courage to do that. It takes a lot of courage to know that everybody around you is a reflection of you. And if you can make them better, it makes you better. And I think that I had a boss once who I was trying to get my reporting lines out from underneath him, and I couldn't really figure out what it was about his leadership that it didn't resonate with me. And as I kind of put the pieces together, and I actually got asked in an interview, like a job later, what was the reason that you left, or what was the biggest challenge about somebody who has led you before? And I said, a lack of courage. And that was really kind of when it hit me that I'm like, that's what it was. It was that I didn't believe in his capacity to lead because he didn't have courage in the ways that I kind of explained at the beginning. And I think it's incredibly foundational.
Ah, I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, how do you define success?
It's a great question. Actually, our commanding officer was in our offices the other day and said, what defines your success? How will you know? What will happen and you will know that you have been successful? And it was a really kind of cool question because it pivoted some of my priorities. Just to think about, are my actions currently aligning with what I believe that success looks like? And I think that, success in a personal life, or success to blend a personal and professional life, looks like self-awareness around kind of who you are and where you're going, and having the ability to be aware of you and where you are in your life and where you are in kind of the growth process, and being aware of what your weaknesses are. And I don't think that success is like a thing. I don't think success is meaning a tangible thing. I don't think it looks like one piece. I think a lot of times we get caught up in saying, I'll know I'm successful when I get this job or this credential or this, award. And then once you get there, you're like, well, but okay, what's next? So it's never that. You don't just
moving target.
It's a moving target. You don't just arrive at it. So I think success is just a continual process of self-awareness and growth, and being able to stay in that. That's probably how I would define it. Being able to stay in self-awareness, stay in growth, and in every chapter of your life, and realizing that like you're going to be new at things. Every time you try something new, you're going to be new at it. There's going to be people out there who are better than you at this thing, but they can serve as mentors and help you, and having the capacity to see yourself in that is, I think, what I would say success looks like.
That is such a great answer, because being able to see yourself and see where you're going is huge.
And it's hard.
And it's the first step, really. It really is the first step. And it is hard. You're right. Because you have to look back and say, okay, this is who I am. And, whether you're going to improve upon that or whether you're going to expound upon whatever, then that's huge. Now, how do you define wealth?
Gosh, I would say that's probably a similar question, right? I mean, I don't define wealth financially, that's for sure. I could take bigger jobs. I mean, working with the Navy SEALs is a pretty big job, but as far as like the pay scale is concerned, like I could go work in the NFL or something and make way more money, but that's it's not the reward I'm looking for. The service model, the paradigm of typically what performance nutrition looks like in that setting. Although the finances of it would be great, I'd be able to do more things with my money, but I wouldn't feel nearly as wealthy as I do right now. I love my job. I loved working in the college setting, and I was not necessarily looking even at the military special forces setting. It really kind of fell into my lap as an opportunity. And I absolutely love it. I love where my kids are in their school. I love where we live. I love that we have 4 seasons, and the mountains are relatively close, and the ocean is right next door. And I have great relationships with my family. I wish I could see them more. So having more money would be great because I could fly home more often. But, I think wealth just is way more in our heart than in our bank account, I guess. And I think feeling that reward in the things that you do, it's no different than getting that promotion or that award that I was talking about within success. Like you get the money in your bank account, and you're like, well, but maybe I don't have the time to use it. Maybe in order to make this much money, my work-life balance has to be terrible. And there's nothing wealthy about that. You have all this money, but You don't get to enjoy it because you don't have the time. I don't know if that answers your question, but
that does, because you don't define it, and it's not, we don't define it either in that manner. It's in all areas of your life, whether you have wealth. And so, of course, our 5 pillars of success is family, fitness, finance, spirituality, and leadership. And so being
I
very
love
clear
that.
being
Great.
very clear that if you're successful in those areas, then you're
Yes.
good. So I love it. I love
Yeah,
it.
so it's probably picking those 5 areas because those are so cool and pouring into them. Like, if I feel wealthy in 4 of them, how do I get to the 5th? If I feel wealthy in 2 of them, how do I get 3, 4, 5? I love those pillars. That's me.
I love it. I love it. Well, it was such a pleasure talking to you, and I knew it
Me
would
too.
be because I just knew from our first conversation that you would be amazing. My name is Dr. Viola Pierce, owner and CEO of VP Nursing and the Nurse Nurturer, and the facilitators of Secret Suppers Worldwide with Dr. V, where our goal is to equip healthcare professionals to be wealthy in all areas of their lives. Our goal is to come to you each Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to give you the fuel to crush your goals, to show up exceptional on a daily basis. Know that one of the goals of Morning Infusion with Dr. V is to expose you to leaders that have overcome so that you know that the possibilities are endless. You can follow us on Twitter at The Nurse Nurturer, Instagram at VP Nursing. And if you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and please share this video. We have a group called The Nurse Nurturer on Facebook that you can join to receive uplifting content for healthcare professionals. You can also visit us at our website at vpnursing.com.